Jackson and Lily had been friends for years, but their relationship had always been wrapped in a fragile layer of unspoken emotions. By day, they laughed, teased, and pretended they were nothing more than friends. But when the world quieted and the night stretched long, their conversations turned into something else, something deeper, something more real. It started as simple late-night texts. "Can't sleep. Me neither." Then it evolved into calls that lasted until dawn, filled with stories about childhood dreams, whispered secrets, and shared silence that spoke louder than words. One night, Jackson hesitated before sending a message. His fingers hovered over the screen. Tonight felt different. He wanted to say more. "Lily, do you ever feel like we say more in the silence than in words?" Lily stared at the message, her heart pounding. She had spent countless nights imagining what it would be like to tell Jackson how she felt. But fear held her back. "Yeah, I do." Her reply was safe, but it was enough. Jackson sighed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how much longer they could keep dancing around the truth. The next night, rain pattered softly against the window as they talked. Lily's voice was quieter than usual. "Jackson, what if we're waiting too long to say what we mean?" His breath caught in his throat. "Then maybe it's time." The silence stretched between them, not uncomfortable but charged with the weight of everything they hadn't said. Lily's heart pounded. She wanted to ask him what he meant. Was he finally ready to say the words she had been holding on to for so long? Or was she reading too much into it, as she always did? The rain outside continued to fall in a steady rhythm, matching the nervous flutter in her chest. "Jackson." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Yeah." She took a deep breath, gripping her phone tightly. "If it's time, then tell me what you really mean." There was a pause, just long enough to make her second-guess everything. Then, Jackson's voice came through the speaker, lower, softer than before. I think about you all the time, Lily. I think about how you laugh at your own jokes, how you get quiet when you're sad, but never say anything. I think about how my day doesn't feel right until I hear your voice at night. He stopped himself. Lily's throat tightened. "Please say it. Please." She swallowed, trying to keep her voice steady. "And you what, Jackson?" The rain had slowed outside, leaving only the soft hum of the night. "And I don't know how to be just your friend anymore." Lily closed her eyes, feeling a rush of emotion so strong it almost knocked the breath out of her. "Then don't be," she whispered. Jackson let out a shaky breath. "Lily, if I tell you how I feel, I can't take it back. And if you don't feel the same, Jackson," she interrupted, "I've been waiting for you to say it for so long. I feel the same. I always have." A deep silence settled between them. Not the kind filled with hesitation, but the kind that spoke of relief, of something finally breaking free. "Then maybe," Jackson said after a long pause, "we don't have to just talk at night anymore." Lily smiled, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Maybe we don't." The next morning felt different. The weight of unspoken words was gone, replaced by something lighter, something fragile but real. Lily stared at her phone, rereading the last message Jackson had sent before they finally ended their call. "Maybe we don't." A smile tugged at her lips, but beneath it was a nervous energy. "What now?" Her phone buzzed. Jackson, morning. "So, can I see you today? Like actually see you, not just hear your voice?" Her fingers trembled as she typed. "Lily, you mean a date?" "Jackson, if we're finally being honest, yeah. A date." Lily exhaled, her heart pounding. "Lily, yes. Where?" Jackson, surprise. "I'll pick you up at 7. She spent the rest of the day in a haze, excitement and nerves tangled together. Would it be different? Would the easy comfort of their late-night talks disappear now that everything was out in the open? At exactly 7 p.m., Jackson was outside. Lily opened the door to find him leaning against his car, hands in his pockets, looking at her like she was something he had been waiting for forever. "Hey," he said, smiling. "Hey," she replied, stepping closer. He hesitated for just a second before reaching out, his fingers brushing against hers before finally taking her hand. Lily felt the warmth spread through her, grounding her in the moment. "I was thinking," Jackson said as they drove, Our first official date should feel like us. So, I have a plan. The plan, as it turned out, wasn't fancy. It wasn't candlelit dinners or grand gestures. It was driving to their favorite quiet spot by the lake, where they had spent so many nights talking in his car, watching the stars. Only this time, they weren't just friends pretending. They sat on the hood of his car, shoulders touching, the moon reflecting on the water. "So," Jackson murmured, "does it feel different?" Lily glanced at him, her heart swelling. "No," she admitted. "It feels exactly the same, but better." Jackson turned to her, his expression soft. "Can I do something I've wanted to do for a long time?" She nodded, barely breathing as he reached up, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear before leaning in. The first kiss was hesitant, lingering, like a question being asked and answered all at once. And when they pulled apart, the silence between them was full of something new, something that didn't need words anymore. Lily let out a small laugh. "Finally." Jackson grinned. "Yeah, finally." For the first time in years, Jackson and Lily weren't just voices in the night. They were something more, something real. And for a while, everything was perfect. Late-night calls turned into late-night drives. Secret glances turned into lingering touches. Unspoken words turned into soft whispers against the quiet of the world. But love, no matter how deep, is never without its tests. One evening, as they sat on Jackson's couch, tangled in conversation and laughter, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and Lily noticed the flicker of hesitation in his eyes before he silenced it. "Who is that?" she asked, her voice light but curious. Jackson hesitated. "No one important." But Lily knew him too well. His voice was just a little too casual. "Jackson." He exhaled and ran a hand through his hair. It was a job offer. Lily's stomach tightened. A job? Where? He met her gaze, and that was when she knew. New York. Silence. Lily swallowed hard, her mind racing. New York. Not here. Not with me. "When did you find out?" she asked. "A few weeks ago." Her heart sank. "Weeks? And you didn't tell me?" "Because I didn't know what to do," Jackson admitted. "I didn't want to ruin this thus. I didn't want to bring it up unless I had to. And now you have to?" He nodded. Lily looked away, her chest tightening. They had waited so long to be together. Was this how it ended? "How long would you be gone?" she finally asked. "It's permanent, Lily." The words hit her like a punch to the stomach. "Oh." Jackson reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "Lily, please." His voice was quiet, almost pleading. "Say something." She wanted to say everything. She wanted to ask him to stay. She wanted to tell him she loved him. But she also knew that if she did, she would be asking him to give up something he had worked for. "So instead," she whispered, "when do you leave?" A pause. 2 weeks. The finality of it settled between them like a storm cloud. "So what do we do?" Lily asked, her voice barely audible. Jackson swallowed hard. "We have 2 weeks," he said. "We don't waste them." The next 2 weeks felt like a paradox, both painfully short and achingly long. Every day, they clung to the moments they had left, savoring every touch, every laugh, every quiet evening spent together. It was as if time was both a blessing and a curse, pushing them forward while holding them back. Jackson kept his promise. They didn't waste a single second. He took her to all the places they'd shared over the years, the quiet coffee shop where they had met, the park bench they sat on after every heart-to-heart, the lake where they had kissed for the first time. Each place felt both familiar and bittersweet, tinged with the knowledge that it would soon be a memory. But no matter how many times they said goodbye to the past, the weight of the future lingered between them. One evening, just days before Jackson's departure, they sat on that same bench by the lake, the one where they had shared so many late-night talks. The air was crisp, the sky darkening as the stars slowly emerged. Lily rested her head on Jackson's shoulder, her fingers intertwined with his. "I don't want you to go," she whispered, the words coming out as a tremor in her voice. Jackson didn't respond immediately. He simply squeezed her hand, his own heart heavy. He had never wanted to hurt her, He had never wanted to leave her. But this job, this opportunity, was everything he had worked for. I don't want to go either, he finally admitted, his voice thick. But I need to do this. I need to find out what's out there for me. For us. Lily's eyes stung with unshed tears. She turned to face him, searching his eyes, wondering how two people so in love could be so powerless against the world. What if we can't make it work? She asked quietly, her heart breaking at the possibility. Jackson reached out and cupped her face, wiping away the single tear that had escaped her eye. We'll make it work, Lily. I know it won't be easy, but I believe in us. I believe in this. He gestured to the space between them, the shared history, the feelings that had always been there but unspoken. Lily shook her head, feeling a lump form in her throat. What if it's not enough? What if this isn't enough? Jackson leaned in close, his forehead resting against hers. Maybe it's not enough yet, he murmured, but maybe it's something we build. Every call, every message, every visit. We won't give up on each other. I won't give up on you. Her breath caught in her throat. She wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that love could transcend the miles and the time zone differences. But as she looked into his eyes, the silence between them felt louder than ever. The unspoken truth was clear. This was a leap of faith, and there was no guarantee they would land in the same place. With a shaky breath, she leaned forward, pressing her lips gently to his. It was soft, tender, every word they hadn't been able to say packed into that kiss. When they finally pulled apart, Jackson smiled through the sadness in his eyes. I love you, Lily. Lily's heart swelled, her chest tightening at the weight of his words. I love you too, she whispered back. The night before Jackson left, they sat in silence in his car, parked outside her apartment. The world felt like it was holding its breath. Neither of them knew how to say goodbye, not when it didn't feel like the end. Jackson reached over and squeezed her hand. Call me when you get home? Lily smiled softly. Always. They stayed like that for a few more moments, just holding hands, letting the silence speak for them one last time. Then, with a deep breath, Jackson kissed her one last time, a long, lingering kiss that spoke of all their shared memories, all their love, and all the promises they weren't ready to make, but would try to keep. When they pulled apart, there were no more words, no more tears, only the quiet certainty that love, no matter the distance, would never truly fade. Good night, Lily. Good night, Jackson. The days after Jackson's departure felt like they were suspended in time, neither moving fast nor slow, just hanging in a kind of limbo. Lily went about her life, but everything felt different. The silence in her apartment was louder, the quiet spaces between her thoughts filled with his absence. She woke up each day with a lingering ache, the mornings no longer starting with his voice on the other end of the phone, his laughter filling the room. But there was also something else, something fragile, yet strong hope. They kept their promise. They talked every night. Sometimes it was just for a few minutes, other times hours would pass without either of them noticing. The time zone difference made it challenging, but it also made the moments they shared feel more precious. They sent each other photos of their day, little reminders of the world they were still a part of, even from across the country. Jackson kept telling her about New York, the fast pace, the noise, the rush of people. But every time she asked if he missed her, his answer was always the same. Every minute. But as the weeks passed, Lily began to notice a shift. The calls weren't as frequent. The messages weren't as long. Jackson's words were still loving, still tender, but they started to feel distant, like something was just out of reach. One evening, after a particularly short phone call, Lily sat on the couch, her heart heavy with unease. Was he pulling away? Was the distance starting to erode what they had? The thought gnawed at her, and the next day, she found herself drafting a message. She stared at the screen for a long time, unsure of how to say what she was feeling without sounding desperate. But she needed to know. Lily, Jackson, I need to ask something. Are we still okay? She hesitated before sending it. Was that too much? Too needy? But after a deep breath, she pressed send, hoping that the truth would come through, one way or another. The response came almost immediately. Jackson, what do you mean? Of course, we're okay. Are you worried about something? Lily let out a small sigh of relief. Maybe it was just her own fears talking. But the unease didn't completely dissipate. Lily, I don't know. It just feels different. We don't talk as much anymore, and I don't want to lose what we have, Jackson. A few moments passed before he replied. Jackson, I'm sorry. It's not you, Lily. It's me. I've been caught up in everything here, work, the city, trying to find my footing. But that doesn't mean I don't miss you. I miss you more than I can explain. Lily read the message twice, her heart swelling with a mixture of relief and sadness. Lily, I know. I miss you too. But it's hard being apart. It feels like we're slipping away from each other, even though we promised we wouldn't. The phone was silent for what felt like an eternity. But then, Jackson's next message came through. Jackson, I don't want to slip away from you, Lily. I don't. But I'm scared. Scared that this distance will change everything. That we won't be the same when I come back. I can't stand the thought of that. Lily's chest tightened, but she understood. She felt the same fear, the same uncertainty. Lily, I don't want that either.
I don't want us to change.
I don't want to feel like we're just a memory. There was another pause before Jackson responded. Jackson, what if we made a plan? Something concrete. Maybe that would help. Maybe we can see each other more, or at least talk about a future that feels more real. Lily, what do you mean? Jackson, I don't know exactly. But maybe I come home for a weekend soon, and we start planning visits. Or we set a date for when you can come to visit me in New York. Something that makes us feel like we're not just drifting in different directions. Like we're in this together, no matter the miles. Lily's heart lightened. Maybe this was what they needed, something to look forward to, something to anchor them when the distance felt too vast. Lily, I like that idea. A plan. Let's make one. Jackson, okay. We'll figure it out, I promise. Days passed, and the conversations became more hopeful. They didn't have all the answers, but they were figuring it out together. They made a plan. Jackson would come home for a weekend in 2 weeks, and Lily would visit him in New York the following month. Small steps, but steps that brought them closer. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. And for now, that was enough. One evening, as Lily sat by the window, watching the sunset paint the sky, she thought about how far they'd come. How much they'd grown, not just as individuals, but as a couple. The road ahead was uncertain, but the one thing she knew for sure was that no matter what happened, they would face it together.